Was Joseph Joestar really that smart? A fair drama aside, I honestly say he was. He's even the longest living JoJo in the main series. But to answer this properly, we need to break down what makes Joseph's intelligence so special compared to the likes of Jotaro or even Giorno, and more importantly, the mystery behind his iconic line. But before that, if you enjoy this type of content, the goal is 20k, so if you enjoy, sub up. When talking about what makes Joseph's intelligence or outsmarting so famous, it is his iconic "your next line is" quotes. It's the foundation of his entire fighting style. Now, fans have theorized a couple of explanations for this. Some believe it stems from Joseph reading manga left to right. Others point to it being an early, unrefined manifestation of Hermit Purple, which later grants him the ability to perceive and reveal hidden truths. Both theories have gained traction in the community, but neither is ever actually confirmed in the series. So, how does it actually work? This stems from the combination of observation and emotional intelligence, since there's a psychological game behind it. Joseph reads his opponent's mindset, predicts their next move, and hits them with a preemptive taunt. By calling out their line before they even say it, he shatters their rhythm and forces the fight onto his terms. It's even shown as early as episode 1, when a man working with the mafia confronts him. Joseph takes him on and goes, "If you're looking for your brass knuckles, they're not in your coat pocket. Check your back pocket." Then comes, "Your next line is, how did you know that, you bastard?" And sure enough, the guy blurts out exactly that. And I think people even underestimate how impressive this is. His reasoning for this was, from the abrascent on his right hand, he knew he fought using brass knuckles, plus the blood on his shirt wasn't his, meaning he just came from a fight. And since the blood is on his shirt, he took off his coat to fight. So when he removed his brass knuckles, he had to put them in his back pocket. In that incredibly short moment, Joseph instantly dissected the man's personality and intentions, gaining the upper hand through nothing but wit and timing. Of course, this kind of mind game only works with absolute composure and judgment. However, Joseph pulls this off so often that proves it's not luck. Another example of this will come when he's up against superior organisms or non-human entities. When they're introduced to Santana, we understand how their intelligence is so superior that they can learn their language in mere minutes. But Joseph pulled off the same "your next line is" at the end of the fight while falling, showing that his psychological understanding extends to superior organisms, although it is debatable whether their psychology is that different from humans, similar to how it is debatable if Shinigami from Death Note have that different of a psychology compared to a human. But moving on, these skills extend to his ability to foresee events. Joseph, when meeting Caesar for the first time, was quite easily overwhelmed by his advanced techniques of Hamon. However, he read Caesar's movements a few steps in advance, predicting that he would kiss the girl again to break her free from his Hamon, allowing the pigeon to attack him from inside her mouth. And again, he even predicted what lines he would say word for word, right before taking action. So it just goes on to show how this "your next line is" skill of Joseph's functions on a foundation of high emotional understanding and precise observation. Now we can move on to his battle IQ, again rooted in his ability to read an opponent's moves. The first time we really see how Joseph's fighting style is at the cafe, when Straight-Zero confronts him outside. As Joseph buys time, he notices that Straight-Zero's breath doesn't fog in the cold air, and he catches a glimpse of a fang-like tooth, clear signs he's not even pretending not to be a vampire. That brief analysis gives Joseph the opening to close the distance and hijack Straight-Zero's attention, concealing his Thompson submachine gun behind his back before launching it with a surprise attack. But to be honest, I do not know how Joseph even managed to hide where he got a submachine gun from us, since in the anime, when the camera is panning from above, we clearly see he isn't holding anything. It'd be easy to just dismiss there is a secret Joestar technique, but we see the same kind of prep again in his first fight with Wamuu, where Joseph has dynamite hidden behind his back already set up. So the more grounded explanation for why we don't always see him grabbing these items is simple: sleight of hand. He's constantly palming, stashing, and repositioning tools off camera, and his encounter with Esidisi or even Cars later gives even more evidence that this is a deliberate skill and not a one-off convenience. The fight with Straight-Zero is only the first example of how skilled Joseph is at turning his surroundings into an advantage, because his core fighting style is built upon schemes. He even quotes a line from Sun Tzu, The Art of War: "Victory is decided before the battle is fought," then adds that the key is layering strategies while your opponent still has no idea what's happening. Joseph also admits he might not be academically smart, but he's always been good at history, and he uses that confidence to jab at Esidisi, saying that even if Esidisi has lived for ages, he still doesn't have the mind to come up with strategies the way Joseph does. However, this is where Joseph is forced to adjust on the fly. Esidisi suddenly starts crying and throwing a tantrum, which is an emotional swing Joseph doesn't see coming. We now see Esidisi turning Joseph's fighting style against him and countering his mindset, lightly mocking him by showing he's already familiar with Sun Tzu. He even quotes, "All war is deception, to fight is to delude, anger your enemies to lure them into mistakes," making it clear he understands exactly what Joseph is trying to do in this battle. That throws Joseph off because he can't get a clean read on him, and as mentioned before, Joseph's entire approach hinges on reading opponents' emotions to predict their next move. In this case, Esidisi's feelings are beyond his grasp, and that uncertainty pushes Joseph into fighting more recklessly. Esidisi literally copies Joseph's fighting style to the core, as he even uses the "your next line is" skill against Joseph. But how does he counter this situation? How can Joseph outsmart someone who is using the same strategies against him? Well, it's to make plans that go deeper than your opponent's plans. Joseph even hits him with, "You lost today because you were asleep for 2,000 years. Trying to bring back the fight into his rhythm and sway Esidisi's emotional control and make a bigger point about progress. Joseph explains that humans have advanced massively over those 2,000 years, to the point that by the 18th and 19th century, sleight of hand magic had become mainstream entertainment. And that matters here because Joseph weaponizes that cultural knowledge. He uses sleight of hand to ensure his strings stay effective even if they're cut. Once he pulls that off, he slips right back into his rhythm, reading Esidisi, calling the next line and sealing the win. This shows how, whether it be a machine gun or dynamite, Joseph's sleight of hand is what allows him to secure the win in most cases, while leveraging his outsmarting. Moving on, even though I've been hammering the same point about Joseph's fighting style, his battle with Wamuu is still worth spotlighting, because it's widely praised as one of Part 2's best, the iconic chariot horse race duel. They race lap after lap, about 960 meters each, and at the end of every lap, new weapons are suspended from the pillars for them to grab mid-fight. And the rules couldn't be simpler. It's a deathmatch. The first one to fall/be defeated loses. This is a deadly duel as both fighters ride in chariots and go all in with their lives on the line, wielding heavy steel balls and hidden weapons. On top of that, the weapons are supplied in different locations each time, meaning they can't rely on a fixed plan, and they're forced to read the situation and make split-second decisions in the moment. However, Joseph literally got knocked off his horse in one lap in. But even here, Joseph survives by leaning into what he does best, quick thinking and inspired improvisation, which is the only reason Joseph even survived without the vampire horses. And at one point, he pulls off a wild gambit, slamming his steel ball into the ground on purpose to shatter it and kick up the breeze, blinding his opponent. Wamuu, meanwhile, fights like the warrior he is, a proud, disciplined champion who values chivalry and never loses his cool. That stoic presence gives the whole duel a real sense of weight. As the fight unfolds, their relationship becomes more than simple hostility, as they begin recognize each other as fellow warriors. In the end, Wamuu accepts his defeat and meets his death with dignity in a way that even Joseph can't help but respect. Both are geniuses in their own right, but it was Joseph's plan that ran deeper in this battle. I've now bombarded you all with what makes Joseph so smart, but what makes this battle special isn't who wins or loses, it's the trust that forms in the middle of the combat, the pride both men carry, and the sheer gravity of the life on the line. An unusually moving moment that stands out across Part 2, and one that stays with the reader long after it's over. And leaving the best for last, there is Joseph's battle with Kaz. Upon taking Lisa hostage, Joseph had to take a gamble, save his own life or Lisa's. His strategies here were again a culmination of all his skills previously shown. Kaz, thinking he killed two birds with one stone and knocking Joseph and Lisa off, was surprised when he found out that the rope was also attached to his leg. This was all a part of Joseph's design. When he first kicked, he let himself be cut along with the rope. While he lit the match, he secretly tied his leg to Lisa's rope and made a loop. He needed a distraction, so he set his scarf on fire, and then to tie the ropes together, he let Lisa be cut down on purpose. A great showing of adaptability and deception from his schemes, which ultimately led to Kaz falling instead. However, this is where the true battle of Kaz begins. From using the stone mask, which had the redstone in place, he evolves into Ultimate Kaz, a perfect life form that combines the abilities of all other life forms. To explain just how impressive Ultimate Kaz's skillset is, his body can replicate the biological traits of any life form on Earth Earth and outperforms them. His intelligence surpasses that of the greatest human minds, processing information and adapting in real time. He can reshape and restructure his own body at the cellular level. He produces Hamon naturally and hundreds of times stronger than Joseph. The very energy that was humanity's only weapon against the Pillarmen now turned against them at a magnitude no human could ever hope to match. He is immune to sunlight, the one weakness that defined his entire species for hundreds of thousands of years, now completely erased. He does not tire, he does not age, he cannot starve, and he cannot be poisoned. He is, by every biological and physical metric, unkillable. Joseph went against this and won. But how? He ran. Well, not quite. His power is so overwhelming that not even Hamon, let alone physical attacks, can leave a scratch on him, making it impossible to defeat through conventional means. Yet even in the face of such hopeless odds, Joseph refuses to give up. The reasoning of his strategy was simple. If Kars draws his power from this planet, then this planet can be turned against him. Joseph's answer was to use magma, the hottest, most primal force the Earth has to offer, erupting from a volcano with enough energy to threaten even the ultimate life form. That said, this risky plan would never have come together without Stroheim. The man threw himself into the battle without hesitation. It was the German planes that Joseph used, Stroheim's arm that allowed Joseph to ram Kars into the volcano, and Stroheim that absorbed the landing that would have damaged Joseph significantly otherwise. He made pieces fall into place when it mattered most. Joseph gets the credit, but Stroheim deserves the MVP trophy, no question. Although, let's ignore the fact that it was due to Stroheim that Kars gained his ultimate form. However, we also can't ignore the role of luck here. Joseph's severed arm somehow catches Kars mid-explosion and helps drag him into the void of space. And yes, that is absurdly lucky, but the reason that moment can even happen is because Joseph acts on instinct first. When Kars is about to strike him with Hamon, Joseph uses the red stone, which triggers a chain reaction that creates enough power to launch Kars upward. So the point is that his decisions keep putting him in positions where luck can actually pay off. And that's exactly what separates Joseph from other JoJos. Jotaro is undeniably intelligent. He learns quickly from each battle, builds experience fast, and notices patterns other people miss. On top of that, he has the academic discipline to study and retain information where matters. And Part 4 even gives us a glimpse of his detective skills in how he helps track Kira. Giorno, despite his age, is even more knowledge-heavy than Joseph. He understands his stand at a deep level and uses that knowledge to set up outcomes. He also has a strong read on his surroundings and on people, which is a very underrated part of his intelligence. But Joseph's advantage is different and arguably the most unique in the bloodline. He is the best reader of people and best at making his plans and strategies shine. He predicts what you want to do before you do it. He reads intentions through emotion, and that's what makes his famous "your next line is" moments work. He pulls a response out of you, then turns that response into a trap, and once he gets inside your head, that's when the sleight of hand and deception kicks in to finish the job. It's a very great showing of theory of mind. That's why his strategies hold up so well in chaotic situations. He keeps baiting, switching, improvising, and stacking small advantages until the fight starts moving on his terms. Honestly, I'm not even surprised this became a meme. So, was Joseph really that smart? Yes, without a doubt.